On paper, it should have been a turbulent season for Brighton and Hove Albion. Last summer, the Seagulls lost top names Neil Mapai, Yves Bissouma, and Mark Cucurella, as well as technical director Dan Ashworth. Then 4 games into the current campaign, they lost manager Graham Potter and his entire backroom staff, followed shortly by head of recruitment Paul Winstanley, widely regarded as one of the best in the biz. But rather than nosedive into terminal descent, the Seagulls have risen to new heights in the league, with incoming manager Robert Zerbi picking up right where Potter left off. Brighton are now 6th in the table with 2 games in hand on 5th place Tottenham Hotspur. They've won 8 of their last 12 matches with just 2 losses against Arsenal and Villa. And the goals are coming thick and fast too, with an average of 2.6 per game, and even long-forgotten names like Danny Welbeck getting on the score sheet. De Zerbi cut his managerial teeth in Serie A, leading small-town club Sassuolo to successive top-half finishes and narrowly missing out on the Europa Conference League. In 2021, the Italian took the top job at Shakhtar Donetsk, and after winning the Ukrainian Super Club, the club were top of the league when the Russian invasion halted the season. Arriving at England's south coast in September last year, De Zerbi had some big shoes to fill at the American Express Community Stadium. Widely considered one of the best young coaches in the country, Graham Potter had led Brighton to an unbeaten start of the season, including an opening day victory against Manchester United at Old Trafford. But clearly unfazed by his predecessor's reputation, De Zerbi wasted no time doing some giant killing of his own. His first 3 points came against Potter's Chelsea in a poetic 4-1 victory, and the Seagulls have since racked up 2 big wins against Liverpool and eliminated Arsenal from the Carabao Cup. A tough January saw the club lose top scorer Leandro Trossard to the Gunners, but the Seagulls still managed to win 4 out of their 5 fixtures, going unbeaten during the month. So with the FA Cup 5th round still to play, could this be the season that Brighton qualify for Europe for the first time in the club's 120-year history? That's right, it could be a very historic year for Brighton. Albert and Mikey join me now, and we're going to give some love to Brighton because what a season the Seagulls have had thus far. 6th place right now. 5 points behind Tottenham Hotspur, Albert, but Tottenham have 2 games in hand. And first off, we have to start by giving some love to this man right here, Kaoru Mitoma. 4 goals in the last 5 matches that Brighton have played, Mikey. He played in the World Cup. He came on in every match. We have to remember Japan played against teams like, Spain, Germany. They ended up losing to Costa Rica, Croatia. Had a bit of a slow start for Brighton, but then comes back from the World Cup break and has been on fire.
On fire. So what we've seen from Brighton, and there's a lot of teams in the Premier League that have gone through trends like this where they become a bit of a selling club, right? Because you do so well that naturally other teams start to take notice of your players and you go on and sell them for big money. Well, what I'm seeing out of Mitoma is that he's next. Trossard already went to Arsenal, and now Mitoma is the next guy who's kind of stepping into that spotlight, and he's looking like the real deal. That his directness, his pace, this touch. I mean, that goal against Liverpool a couple games back.
The composure.
The composure. Oh. Yeah, to do that all. We saw this past weekend him score a goal with his head. He's doing it all right now for Brighton, and he's emerging as a legitimate star.
Yeah, 3 and 3. And this guy actually did a thesis at university on dribbling. He put cameras on his teammates' head just to see how they react to certain situations, and he studied it. That's excuse me, I'm getting all choked up talking about Mitoma. But that's why he's so good at this. He has such an understanding. And what Brighton did when they bought him last season, they loaned him out for a full season. So he came back to the Premier League ready to go. And if there's one man who doesn't want to see him anymore, it's the guy we just showed on the screen there, Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's destroyed him in the last, 5 games. So Mitoma, one of the many great signings that Brighton's have made.
Really quickly, I just want to ask, because he brought up his thesis in dribbling. Now, he was one of these players that actually went to university, studied, and then actually decided to really pursue football, which we don't see because football, you have to really start young, right? You guys think that him, writing a thesis on dribbling actually helped him in his career now? Because a lot of these players, they don't take that academic road, but I feel like it's given him a different way of thinking, and I feel like it makes him one of those really, smart footballers. We don't, I don't know how to explain that, but some footballers really, they are so intelligent with the ball, and are we potentially seeing that from him?
One of the things, one of my coaches told me when I was growing up, and like 10% of the game comes down to how athletic and how physically fit you are. 90% of it is mental.
Oh.
And you're seeing that right here with Mitoma. The one thing I notice about him is when he has half a yard on you, you're not getting that half yard back because he's so precise with his dribbling and he understands how to take advantages with his feet and with dribbling. So yeah, I think it definitely plays into what he's done. I don't know if you think
Yeah, for
anything
sure. I mean, you
differently.
got to think about it. If you have the professional ability to be able to dribble the ball like a professional footballer, now you have a complete understanding of why certain things are being done with the ball, how to maneuver, how to beat players, where to push the ball, go left or go right. You put that all together, you're going to become a complete player because you already have that understanding as a footballer.
He dribbles with purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Dribbles with purpose,
yeah.
unlike
Yeah,
Anthony from
exactly. All right, somebody else we have to give some credit to, I think, is Zerbi.
Oh, man.
Came into this club at Brighton when they lost their beloved Graham Potter, who went to Chelsea, as we all know. They lost the likes of Cucurella, Bissouma, Mapai over the summer. Now we mentioned Trossard as well. He also brought in two of his guys from Italy in the fitness department, and Brighton's really becoming one of the most fittest teams. But he really came into this with shoes to fill, and he has filled them. How important, Albert, has De Zerbi been to the success that Brighton has had this season?
Yeah, extremely important. I was concerned when they got rid of Potter because Brighton, they knew how to play a certain way under Potter. They built under Potter. I'm like, how's someone going to come in and change that? And De Zerbi struggled at the
didn't
beginning.
start well, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't start well. I mean, his first match was against Liverpool, and that ended 3-3. So I was like, oh, there's something going on here. And now you look at them, up to 6th place. I think 5 wins in their last 6. They play similar to the way that they played under Potter, but a bit of a spin on it because now he's using the entire team in different attacking roles, where under Potter, he was very much so using his creators more than he would the rest of the team. He's getting Solly March, I think 6 different goal scorers for Brighton. So it's more of a team aspect with De Zerbi, and he deserves credit because when Italian comes over to the Premier League, it's not easy. He even mentioned that in an interview. He's like, I don't speak the language. The players don't understand me. It's a different style. How am I going to adapt? But he has, and a lot of players have come out and said they love playing for him. So he's done a fantastic job.
Well, like even more than that, when you think about all the controversy and everything that was stirring around the club with Trossard and also Caicedo, Brighton had every reason to sort of fold and give in to sort of what was happening around the club. Since the start of the new year, on a points per game basis, Brighton and Manchester United would be the top 2 teams in the Premier League since the start of after the World Cup. So that just speaks volumes to the job that De Zerbi's been able to do throughout this, I guess, dramatic and newsworthy January transfer window. And yeah, he deserves a ton of credit for the foundation.
I thought he handled that Trossard thing really well. Trossard wanted to move on. He was being a bit disrespectful to the manager, and he's like, listen, change your attitude, else you're not playing. And Trossard moved on. And then after the fact, De Zerbi came out and actually apologized. He's like, I hate that it ended that way, but it needed to be. I mean, not many managers would put their foot down that way, and he's done that with Brighton.
But it wasn't with Caicedo, eh? Why did he decide to sell Trossard but not Caicedo, in your opinion?
I don't know. Tony Bloom, the owner, his goal for Brighton is for them to finish in a European position. And I think he realizes that Caicedo can help them get there. And because January is such a tough market to deal in, he just didn't want to sell him at that point. I mean, it was a high number. Was it 70 or 80 million?
Yeah.
70,
So
yeah.
come the summer, okay, maybe they won't get that high, but I think they paid less than 10 million for him. So if they get anywhere above that, it's
Great
a bonus for
business.
them,
Well,
right?
don't forget they also in the summer brought in Estupinian from Villarreal, who is his, Ecuadorian partner, and that link up has been really important as well, I think. So I think they're trying to hold on to that a little bit longer because I do wonder if some of the leverage for Estupinian as well was your buddies over here. Come on.
And listen, like they lost key players in Trossard and Mwepo, in which no one's talking about. Remember, he had to leave and retire from football at a young age because he had heart issues, and he was key to that midfield. So whatever happens with this Brighton team, De Zerbi seems to find a way to continue this consistency, and it's just great to see them play this way.
Yeah, absolutely. But okay, guys, biggest question before we wrap up. Is Brighton going to finish in a European position, top 6? As I mentioned, they're 6th right now, but they have 2 games on 5th place Tottenham. Let me leave you with this as well. March to April, in that month, they have, this is their calendar, Manchester United, Brentford, Spurs, Chelsea, and City. That is going to be one difficult run of games for them. And there's still about a half of a season left. Now, as much as I'd love to see Brighton finish in the top 6, and they are such a great team to watch. I'm struggling the more and more this season continues to see them being able to hold that, Mickey. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, their form against top 6 clubs, I think, is actually really, really good. I know they've picked up some really important results.
City and Chelsea aren't top 6, right?
Oh,
Yeah, they beat
City.
Chelsea.
Yeah,
They beat
Liverpool.
Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool.
Yeah.
This season.
And I think they got points against United as well. So they've shown up in some of those big games. But you're right. When you think about the Premier League this year, there's so many fascinating stories in terms of who exactly can make the jump. Like, we're not talking about Fulham. We're not talking about Brentford. Both teams who can definitely compete for that top 6. We'll see what happens with Spurs and Newcastle. United still, where they're not guaranteed to finish top 4. There's a lot of teams vying for that top 6. It's going to be really competitive. But you know what? I'm going to go on a limb. I love this Brighton story. I love what it's about. I love how Caicedo's integrated himself back into the squad. I love what Zerbi's done. Let's say it. Brighton's going to go top 6.
I love it. The odds are 8-1 right now, Albert.
To finish in the top 6.
Yeah.
I want to say that they could.
Get
No,
aboard.
you know what? It'll be difficult to finish in the top 6 because I know Spurs have been
be so tough.
inconsistent, but they're probably going to be strong down the stretch. You can't count out Chelsea, who's not far off that 6th spot. You can't count out Liverpool, Brentford, and Fulham all playing really well. It's going to be difficult. I do think they finish in a European position. Remember, 8th place is a Conference League, 7th is Europa League. I think they could finish in that top 8. I think they really can.
Do they finish top 6?
No, I don't think they finish top 6. I think it's going to be too difficult for them. And they're still in the FA Cup, so I think they have one eye on that. So if they make a deep run there, it could affect their form in the Premier League. But top
very
8,
fair.
I see it happening.
Listen, I think Europa League spot, though, for Brighton, 7th place, take it and go.
amazing.
Like,
I would
that's
love to see Brighton in the
fantastic.
Europa League.
Conference League.
Right.
It's like
Right.
a few seasons back.
Yeah.
Conference
so wait,
League.
what's 8th?
Conference League.
Both are Conference League, I believe.
7 and 8.
Yeah,
5
5,
and
6 is
yeah,
Europa
okay,
League.
okay.
Yeah,
Look
it
at
gets
me.
really strange once you get to that point.
I don't know. After 6, I'm like, you're making
See,
it
the
up.
thing is with the Conference League, no one cares about it, and we've been vocal about that at times. But if a team like Brighton gets in there,
Huge.
it's
Yeah,
like, wow,
yeah.
that's a huge
Huge.
achievement,
fair.
right?
Even
I'll never forget
Brentford.
when Deitch took Burnley. People forget this. Took Burnley to the Europa League. They finished 6th in the Premier League, and it was like Burnley in the when West Ham made it. It's great to see these other teams in the Premier League get this type of recognition. It's not all about the traditional top 6 anymore.
Is there a bigger Sean Deitch fan out there?
I
than
was
Albert
going to
Burnett?
say it.
I love
Albert
Sean
managed
Deitch.
to just, yeah.
He's like a cult hero. I love him.
Oh, no, you really do. Well, Brighton are back in action this weekend against Crystal Palace. We will all be watching and excited to see what those Seagulls bring.